I also was a veteran. I was in the United States Army for 2 years, and during that time, I also felt that I was serving my country honorably, and I did, in that sense. But during that time, I started to wake up a little bit. And as a veteran, I'm very concerned that when we do send our men and women into combat, that we do so for legitimate national security reasons. The war in Iraq does not meet that test. Iraq, after the first Gulf War and after 10 years of punitive sanctions, was the weakest military power in the Middle East of any major country in the Middle East. And as such, not a single one of its neighbors, for example, felt that Iraq was any threat. Not Kuwait, Iran, Turkey, Syria, Jordan, or Saudi Arabia. None of these countries felt that Iraq was a threat, nor did most of our European allies. Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11, was a bitter enemy of al-Qaeda, and was militarily impotent, with no weapons of mass destruction. It is clear that this war was and is about oil. Even as esteemed an observer as Alan Greenspan, head of the Federal Reserve, former head, stated this in his recent book. This is a war to benefit special interests. Corporations such as Halliburton, which has received billions of dollars of no-bid contracts, and which can account for several billions of these dollars. Military contractors such as Blackwater, whose personnel operate above any law, claiming immunity from both civil and military courts, and large oil corporations like ExxonMobil, which are reaping, since the war started, the largest profits of any corporation in the history of this country. In addition, this war is causing a terrible refugee crisis. In Syria alone, there are over 1 million refugees. Several other countries neighboring countries have also, like Jordan, have also accepted large numbers of refugees, greatly overstraining civil society in these countries. There are 4 million, estimated 4 million refugees, internal refugees within Iraq itself. Most of those have been created since the so-called surge. These are people who can't get out. The war is having a serious effect on our own economy. The money that we have been spending for this war could be put to use here in New Haven. Our share of that money could be put to use here to much better use. It is time for New Haven to make a statement, to join the hundreds of towns and cities across this country in voicing opposition. If the mayor of Salt Lake City, the largest city in the most conservative state in the Union, can publicly take a stand against this war, so can we. And I urge my colleagues on the board to vote for the resolution. Thank you.
The next person I'd like to call on is someone I think we all know, who's been a long-time leader in our community, Clifton Graves.
Thank you. Good evening. Clifton Graves, co-chair of the NAACP Political Action Committee. We're here simply to stand in solidarity with the New Haven Peace Council and the Black Democratic Clubs of Connecticut and standing in support of this resolution, these resolutions. We also invoke the spirit and legacy of Dr. King, who challenged us all that we must concentrate not merely on the negative exposure of war, but on the positive affirmation of peace. Not merely on the negative exposure of war, but the positive affirmation of peace. These resolutions reaffirm the positive affirmation of peace. And so with this coalition of consciousness we are gathered here today, we stand in support of these resolutions in the hope that our Board of Alders will see the light and will see the vision. And that even while arguably it's principled and symbolic, it's significant nonetheless. 300 other cities around this country, as Al alluded to, have passed similar resolutions. And as we look at the conditions of our cities, of our communities, that people that are impoverished, that are struggling for survival. It's incumbent that we take this type of progressive, positive affirmation for peace and hope that those billions of dollars that are being allocated now for guns and bombs and weaponry can be redirected to our communities that are sorely in need of resources for schools, for housing, for roads, for homes, for our citizens here. Again, war, as Dr. King said, is not merely, we must not merely concentrate on the negative exposure of war, but the positive affirmation of peace. So in his spirit, in the spirit of Paul Robeson, in the spirit of Dr. W.B. Du Bois, those leaders of the NAACP historically who stood for civil rights, human rights, and international justice and peace, we stand here in support of these resolutions and hope that the Board of Alders will deem fit to use their good judgment, esteemed judgment, to pass these resolutions. Thank you.